Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. I love this. I have no idea what you're serving up. Oh, boom. Okay. This is great. I don't know if this is, it may be a photograph. It may be an illustration for Instagram promotion. It's basically the outside. Okay. Close to the front, the foreground is a CD jacket. CDs. How cute. CDs. And then, so it says Cliff Beach, and there's somebody at the piano. I'm assuming that's you. White suit, white hat, very colorful. Yes. The field of the photo is this kind of off-white pearl kind of, I don't know, textured background. It's like on a table or something. The CDs are all aligned in a kind of grid going off into the I don't know, into the horizon, I guess. And inside, standing inside is the open shot of the CD with, I guess it's mostly red. There's a little bit of violet, it's very colorful. It's super colorful. I'm assuming you're promoting your CD?
Yes, I'm promoting my CD, but it has many layers to that. So this is my first jazz album that came out recently called You Showed Me the Way. It's a tribute to an amazing jazz singer, female jazz singer, Ella Fitzgerald, who's definitely known around the world. It's also dedicated to my great-grandmother. So my great-grandmother grew up in Pittsburgh. Ella Fitzgerald married a very famous bass player, Ray Brown, in Pittsburgh. And my great-grandmother, at 6 years old, is what we call in my community fast. Meaning she would walk by Ray Brown's house and she had a schoolgirl crush on him. So she would wave and say, "Hi, Mr. Brown." And then she would look at Ella in disgust because she thought he stole her man. And my grandma was very much like that. And so now that she's no longer with us, I like being able to carry the torch to honor her and talk about her. And so whenever I get a chance to speak about her or write about her, or I sent it to the Pittsburgh jazz station where she was from, so that they would play and talk about her. And so that makes me feel really good. My mom also executive produced the album.
Oh, wicked.
Which means that she gave me some money to be able to put it out. And that's exciting because I just come from a very strong matriarch. The image that you see there, the album artwork, as well as that Instagram image, was done by a friend of mine who does imagery called Image Stricken. And we wanted to be able to showcase, I'm a huge fan of Kehinde Wiley, so I wanted to have that kind of artwork where we were overlaying and superimposing a lot of bright color. So even though I cannot paint to save my life, even my stick figures are crude and it was bad. But maybe something
even my stick figures are Rubenesque.
Yeah, right. It's like, they're no Picasso doodle for $10,000 or anything. But I think it's cool. Because I respect him and I've seen so much of his artwork. But I go to museums on purpose, even if I don't understand art, because I appreciate it. And I've worked and commissioned artwork for albums from different artists. Some as far from me as Mexico. And I'd love to work with other people just because, and people who I'd never met. I was like, I like your artwork. Let's do something. Send it to me. And so that was
Let me stop you. I'm one of those shit hosts who stops and interrupts all the time. That's so okay. I'm very sorry. Okay. So, cause I don't know help me figure out who and where you are. So where are you exactly?
I'm in LA. I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I'm originally from Washington, DC. So I live in the States and I'm a funk artist. I lived in LA for 20 years.
Okay. That's okay. Great. That's really great. You mentioned your grandmother and your grandmother and grandmother, but does she have a name?
Yeah. Oh yes, her name is Cora Lee Washington, and she was a powerful woman. She grew up through the Depression, but she wanted to make sure we knew she never went hungry, and her family was not poor. And actually, my family were black millionaires in the 20s. They owned all of the ice and coal in Pittsburgh before heating and refrigeration, and so they were rich, and they had a lot of famous musicians like the Temptations and a lot of Motown stars come and stay with them because my grandpa had a pool table and a full bar, so he was like the after party place.
Right,
and he liked to have fun and have a good time. But they were unconventional for the time, but they loved to have fun. They were heavy drinkers, unfiltered cigarette smokers. So
right,
they lived a long time.
Nice. But okay, so you're a musician, and it's really apparent to people that to become a musician good, it's just there's no magic. It's just practice, and you play and you practice and you play and you're there, and it becomes an extension. Similarly for writing, since most of us think and most of us talk, there's this sense that, you know, to be a writer is a little bit more intuitive. It's more like, okay, I'm just going to put down to paper, onto the computer or whatever, my thoughts into some kind of narrative. But in your case, would you say, like, where does that sort of move to expression come out strongest? Is it through music? Is it through writing? I mean, is your approach to music like that of a writer, or is your approach to writing like that of a jazz musician?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. Music is my foremost love and what I do the most. Writing was just a bucket list item that I wanted to do, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
very heady. I read a lot of books, but I try not to think of music in a cerebral way like I do about writing and reading.
Mm.
But I will tell you this parallel is that whatever you decide to do, it's all about full immersion. So the reason why as a kid you're able to learn language and learn to speak so quickly is because you surround yourself with adults who are quote unquote experts in speaking that language. And so
Mm.
music or anything else is the same way. If you fully immerse yourself in it, you start playing as we teach kids their instrument, putting them into bands so we learn together, then you definitely move much faster. So I don't think there's any way to think, but I think once you kind of understand the creative process, then you can adopt that and laterally move to other mediums because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, if you're doing music and songs, books versus movies versus films versus TV series, all of them are different mediums that allow for different types of storytelling. So the
Mm-hmm.
arc is different. If I'm trying to give you a 3 minute pop song, there's only so much story I can give you versus a 7.5 hour audiobook versus a 20-year TV series. So it
Mm-hmm.
isn't
Mm-hmm.
like there's a right or wrong way. I know that people will say like, well, why is the movie so different from the book? It has to be because
Yep.
the mediums are different. I can't tell the story in the same way. When you're reading a book, you are the director. You're creating a movie in your own mind that only you know. And it's tied to what you like and what
Mm-hmm.
you gravitate to. And the director's not able to do that. So I think that's the thing. It's like once you tap into that, I think the hardest thing for me is that I know we live in a world where there's more creative people, but they've discounted themselves because our school systems basically beat out creativity from most of us because we feel like we have to be serious or we won't make money doing that or whatever it is. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's more people that could be creating awesome things if they just open themselves up again to that level of consciousness that allows you to do that. So I think once you tap into that, if you say, hey, I want to write a book and you never did it, you can. If you want to write a song and you never did it, I think you could if you really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the catharsis for me, just getting your feelings and your ideas out there, I think there's a level of like, it creates almost like a cancer inside you if you don't get it out. I think you also go crazy if you don't get it out. You have to be able to get things out of your brain. The mind is able to create a lot of ideas, but it's not meant to hold them. And if you don't share them with the world, then we will never know.
I love it. I totally love it. Though here's the thing. Everybody has their own rhythm. Everyone has their own cadence. And like how you speak is just kind of basically the externalization of how your brain functions, right? And so, for example, because I'm looking at the image, it's a CD cover. The inside jacket is of you in a white suit, which is a heavy rock statement. To wear a white suit, that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty badass. Sitting at a yellow kind of, I think it's yellow wood piano. And
Mm-hmm.
behind is a woman. Can't quite tell, who she is. So my question is, how do people listen to your work? Because to read your thoughts, get the book. To listen to your music, where do they go?
Oh, well, under Cliff Beats, you can stream my music anywhere, all over the world, on all the streaming platforms. And there are physical vinyl and CDs for certain albums and stuff. But streaming would definitely be the best. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, however you consume music, you'll find it under Cliff Beats, yeah.
Okay, so how's this? This is going to be my last question before I have to move on to the next photo. Usually, before you write a book, it's like you come to this sort of decision point, and you're just like, and that kind of spark happens, and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to go down that road. Now, for the CD or for a song, can you tell a story of, say, the first time? Because the first one is always, the most challenging because you've never done it before. You have no frame of reference, right? So can you talk about the first time that either you wrote a song, you put together that album, or that kind of got you over that hump? Like was it somebody who pushed you? What pushed you out of that comfort zone?
Yeah, so in 2013, I had a previous band in 2006 that released 2 albums, but really I felt in 2013 I released my first actual Cliff Beach album, and it's called Who the Funk is Cliff Beach, and I called it that because
I love it.
I was trying to answer, like, I had this producer who was like, he's like, you're a great singer, you're a great writer, you're a great pianist. He's like, but you have to tell the world who you are. Like, there's lots of people who do that, but who are you? And why is that unique and different? What's your X factor? So that's what that was supposed to do. And I love that you explained it the way you did, because one, I think we just have a lot of fears. We have to feel that fear and do it anyway. I did not know how to create an album at the time, so I just started telling people about it, and somehow that ended up with a band and a team and engineers and some money, and we got it done. And it wasn't the best album I made in my life, but it was the best in terms of I pushed myself out of the comfort zone. I remember like the years before I did that, because I had started working on material, and the album didn't come out for about 3 years. And I had a friend who kept pushing me. He was like, you just need to put an album out, dude. That's what he always said. And I was just like, I don't know, or the time, and this and that. It's like, there is no perfect time. There is no perfect situation. We actually know through scientific evidence, if you give one team, like, hey, I want you to make one thing that's your best, or you like this other team, I want you to make 10 things. The people who do 10 exponentially by their 10th are better than the ones that just did one, because you learned at every step. So 10 albums later, I have a whole different process. I understand exactly, like, that needs this, that needs that. Not like every question can be answered, but it's like I know how to put a team together. I know what it looks like to start and finish, and that's so hard. There's so many people who are like, I want to do it. They never figure out their central message. They never figure out the medium. They don't move, or they have to figure out, if I start this and I miss a day, then they just quit. It's like, no, you need to get back on it the next day, and you need to be driving always towards the goal and always towards the finish line. Because everybody who started a book, who got to chapter 1 that didn't finish the rest, we're not going to get that book. You gotta keep going, plow through. It's not for the faint of heart. I've learned now that with anything creative, you have the decision and discipline, and then from there are delays and dead ends and disappointments, and those D's people don't know how to deal with, and that's when you quit. That's why Angela Duckworth said you have to have true grit. Perseverance is sticking with something when the feeling and the love for it has passed. Because every project I've done, when I got to the end of 10 rounds of edits for that book, I was like, if I never hear another word out of my mouth again, I don't want to read this. I don't want to hear it. But then eventually you take space, you take time. You're like, this is good, and I'm glad that I did it. And it's like, I can go back through years and pull out a book or a CD or an album and say, I did that. That's a snapshot of what I did with my own force, my own life force. Right. And I think that's important. It's like, you don't want to go on, you spend all this money and then you look back and you're like, what did I buy? What did I do? Like, was this meaningful? That's not good. It's like, for me, it's like there's, Marie Kondo says, touch everything. Does it bring you joy? I only do stuff that's fun. I only do things that keep me curious about the world and I find interesting. I'm not doing fluff projects. Either I want to do it and it really invigorates me, or I just don't do it. But it's like when I hold them up and I look at them, it's exciting to see what I've done, but knowing that my best is still yet to come. I'm still moving forward.
So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.